So, greetings, dear friends. Today we're here with you on this podcast, and we want to welcome our dearest friend, Larry Johnson. He's a professional. We're here with a club of United People's Unity Club. We're welcome all of you again here, and we're gonna have a great podcast with Mr. Larry Johnson. Mr. Larry Johnson, welcome.
Thank you. And Andre, it is good to see you again, and I can congratulate you on being named as a co-chair of the International Unity Club.
Yes, thank you very much. It is so indeed, but it's also carries a great responsibility for myself. I have a lot of learning ahead of me. So,
Well, they chose the right. They chose the right person.
so before we get to the point where all the peoples will be in unity, we have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
to get them united, as you know, due to the present geopolitical situation.
Duh.
Larry,
We will begin from a few questions. Definitely, it's not going to be easy to select certain questions, pinpoint them. We understand that all the events that are taking place right now, including Venezuela, they're all interconnected.
Ларри, нам очень важно узнать твое мнение.
So we would love to know your opinion because you're a professional, you're the one that worked at CIA, and you know exactly how those special operations are handled.
Прежде чем мы
And before we get to the discussion of the total geopolitical situation, I would like to ask you one question.
любой военный профессионал
So we know all the weather factors, including the moon, they all make an influence on what takes place.
военные командиры
And also the commanders, they see when what phase of the moon comes in, the sun, all those the requirements they take in.
Соответственно, здесь у меня вопрос: почему американский спецназ полнолуние ночью?
If you look at the situation, it was done during a full moon,
Yeah.
and anybody could take any rocket and shoot it. So how come they didn't do it? They were on such a hurry. What do you think? What were the causes?
This was carried out because the United States had bribed and had the cooperation of a member of the security service, one of the chiefs of the security services in Venezuela. And I agree with you that that's what caught my attention initially, because I spent 23 years working with those special operations forces, and you would never launch this kind of operation in full moonlight unless there was either a life and death situation, which there was not. So the only thing I can conclude is that they had simply made the agreement and said, let's go in full moonlight. It'll be easier to, we won't have to worry about a failure of night vision goggles.
Andrei is saying that as we speak, you talk about the night vision and all those things, is that I can hear right now. I'm in the Moscow region, and I can hear those helicopters are taking off to catch those drones that are flying from Ukrainian drones, and they also work with a special equipment like this. As we speak, I hear them taking off in the air. As you
Мы
know,
понимаем, что
we all hear that Mr. Trump, President Trump, made this Venezuelan strategy as one of the major ones. He's got others, but we understand it's a big game that has just launched.
И мы понимаем, что перекрытие поставок нефти из Венесуэлы.
So as we understand that U.S. is in the need of oil. There's oil deals are going around. We also understand this is all includes military. We also are thinking there could be a potential American-Israeli attack on Iran. So how do you perceive the development of the future events?
Well, I think the question of oil may be over exaggerated, because the reality is Venezuela ranks 20th in the world in terms of production barrels per day, and that if the United States somehow succeeds in increasing the flow of oil out of Venezuela, it's going to lower the price of oil, which will hurt U.S. oil producers. So it's like shooting oneself in the foot with one's own gun. We don't have a definitive explanation from the Trump administration why they did it, but there have been several theories, one of which is to get secure access to the oil. But there other explanations have been that there is the United States wants to get access to the silver that Venezuela has, and or another explanation is to make sure expel Russia, China, Iran from having any diplomatic relations, any political relations with Venezuela. But then there is also the claim that because of the Venezuela was a haven for Hamas and Hezbollah. But I think actually one of the more actual reasons for it is a billionaire by the name of Paul Singer, who is a campaign donor to Donald Trump, had a multi-billion-dollar interest in Venezuela that he just received a legal judgment in the United States to pursue. And we can't rule out that this was really just a simple matter of ego on the part of Donald Trump. Trump is behaving very erratically, and we've seen that with not only did they violate international law by kidnapping Maduro, but he's also made direct threats against Colombia, Panama, and Greenland. And then add to that the act of piracy in the last 2 days against 2 Russian flagged ships. And before that, last week or a week ago Sunday, the attempted assassination of Vladimir Putin by the 91 drone attack that was launched at the official residence of Putin in Novgorod. In fact, I think you have to go back, a week ago Sunday, starting with the meeting that took place at Mar-a-Lago with Zelensky, and the fact that attack, the drone attack against the Putin residence, was launched while Trump and Zelensky were meeting. At best, this can be viewed as just a very cynical act to carry out. And then that was followed the next day at the meeting at Mar-a-Lago with Bibi Netanyahu. And while that meeting is going on, or actually a few hours before it started, you had this eruption of protests in Iran, across Iran. This was not an organic event. This was initiated, in my view, by a coordinated intelligence operation carried out by the United States and by the government of Israel via Mossad. So, and that continued to unfold for that week, and then the attack against Maduro. I really believe that the United States is intent on trying to disrupt, destroy BRICS, if possible.
So what we see on our side, we see that White House is in a total euphoria. They're highly excited about what taking place, and we saw how Maduro was publicly taken through the streets of American cities. And the Rubio statements that he says that United Nations is a very weak organization. They will not take it in any way seriously. And the Minister of War, Peter Hesed, he said that now America is on every continent, and they will do what they want to do, and they will use their jurisdiction anywhere they go. Without any point of shame, they're saying that Greenland will belong to the United States. They don't understand that there's a connection with Europe, that this is a country under NATO, and etc. And we've heard that in the White House, there's almost signed all the paperwork that the United States is leaving every international organization, UN and others. So what U.S. is stating that there is a jungle law in power, and whoever is the strongest, that one will take over. And on top of everything else, we hear the statistics from Mr. Trump that they will increase the military budget another 50%, which will reach $1.5 trillion. So, what is really
К чему
America getting
готовится
ready to
Америка?
do?
Они
Are they
хотят
getting ready for
большой
the big
войны, в
war,
которой
for a
они должны
huge
стать
military
лидерами. Они
operation? Do they
осознают
realize
последствия
the
такого сильного
fruits of
эскалационного
the
поведения.
outcome?
Yes, a simple way to put it. This is there's a disconnect in between reality and fantasy on the part of the Trump administration. Trump and his advisors genuinely believe that the United States has the best military in the world, that we are the most capable, the most powerful, and that no other country can compare, especially Russia. But the reality is, Russia has at least 5 variants of hypersonic missiles. The United States doesn't even have one. The United States deployed a carrier task force group to the Red Sea to stop the Houthis from being able to prevent ships going to Israel, and the U.S. failed. We were defeated by the Houthis. I mean, the reality is, I'm sad to say, because it's my country, we are acting like the classic stereotypical bully. And you know, the question of dealing with bullies has, you know, been at the heart of many successful movies. You know, movies about, because what bullies do is they target the weak. They go after those who are least capable of defending themselves. But then the twist in the movies is when the hero shows up to put the bully in his place. So I would argue that the heroes in this case will have to be Russia and China, because when you look at just the entire tapestry of events that have unfolded in the last 2 weeks, the United States is not acting rationally; it's acting irrationally and trying to use force in every situation, and at the same time not being able to be trusted with negotiations.
Ларри, вот здесь
You have
очень
touched here a
важный
very
аспект ты
important
затронул.
aspect. It's a possibility
Это
on having
возможность
negotiations with the
договариваться с
United
США.
States. Maybe you would be
Вот,
able
может
to
быть, ты
explain
нам
to us
прояснишь
the
логику
logics of how White
поведения
House is
Белого дома?
behaving.
Потому что, с одной стороны, США для нас
Because for us
это
it's very important,
медиатор,
because
который
remember, United
выполняет
States is a
важную
great mediator
миссию
for us
по
in between in
урегулированию
negotiations between Russia and the
российско-украинского
Ukraine,
конфликта.
as
Для
you
нас это
understand.
важно. А с другой стороны, он идет США идут на открытую провокацию с
But on
Россией,
the other hand, what
с
we see is
захватом
United
спецназом
States with a special forces
российского судна
operation
«Маринера»
is taking
в
over that
нейтральных
special
водах
vessel, that
Атлантического
Marinara,
океана
in the Atlantic
при
Ocean, and
условии того, что
everybody
Миттель
was warned
лично
that this is
приезжал,
not what you something
предупреждал,
that you're
что этого
supposed to
делать не
do.
надо.
And what we see is taking place, what some people say, that the ears of Trump are being kidnapped or plugged by hawks,
Такое ощущение,
hawks
что,
from the
как в России
current
говорят, ухо
powers, and they
Трампа
don't let him
захватили
hear the true
ястребы, которые
situation that takes
провоцируют
place in
его
the
на
world and
эскалацию
in Russia,
конфликта, в том числе с
particularly.
Россией.
Yeah, I was suggesting that Martians had kidnapped the real Donald Trump and replaced him with a clone, because Trump's actions right now are 180 degrees from what he was saying publicly, you know, 5, 6 years ago, with regards to getting involved with foreign wars. And his claim was to focus on America, make America first, and rebuild the American economy. But as you pointed out, Andre, you know, he's now boosted the budget, the war budget, to by $500 billion. And my understanding is that figure is at least twice the annual budget of Russia for its entire military. So we're dealing with a level of insanity. It is not rational. What you know, candidly, you know, I admire the patience of President Putin, but I think the time has come that Russia must tell the United States that if there's going to be any progress with negotiations, it has to start with the United States immediately lifting travel restrictions between the United States and Moscow or Russia, to return the property that was illegally taken from Russia that's in the United States, and to lift the restrictions on Russian diplomats, how far they're able to travel. These must be preconditions, gestures that the United States must make in order to show good faith, but they haven't done so. And, frankly, a lot of this now hinges on what will Russia's reaction be to this, the latest acts of piracy. These are acts of war. And on top of that, literally 8 days ago, 9 days ago, there was an attempt to kill Putin. That, initially I was wondering if that was just an aberration, that this was something that the Ukrainians did on their own.
Да, Ларри, спасибо большое в первую очередь, что ты вспомнил.
Larry, thank you very much. Remember Anchorage agreements?
В Анкоридже. Мы это называем платформа Анкориджа, и туда входит.
So that's exactly the plan that we have moving as two countries must move forward. This is something regular that has to be done.
И об этом как раз говорил президент Путин, о том, что мы достигли договоренности, нет никаких движений со стороны Америки.
So during these agreements, we see that there's extra sanctions took place, and the conditions that were settled there they were not followed up. So we see that it was not easy to negotiate with America since it didn't fulfill the obligations.
Мы понимаем, что с Британией или с коалицией желающих,
Yeah, we know that Britain and the other countries, they are in a coalition, that they have a hungry, thirsty eyes for making more money on the war, on selling weapons. And we were really hoping that we could deal with the United States as a trusted partner. For us to have a great negotiations and relationship between the United States and the Russian Federation, it's a great deal, because these two huge countries, they have the power, the nuclear power, and we will influence the peace in the whole world. And so we were speaking, as we're speaking, remember that Mr. Trump's also announcements to have an agreement concerning that huge nuclear weapon contract agreement, SMB3, that should be prolonged, should we stop it, and a deal that goes around that.
Мы помним заявление Трампа с трибуны ООН, когда он выступал и сказал, что...
What we also remember Trump announcing at the UN stage that the whole world need to think about peace and get away from the chemical and biological weapons. And biological, we understand that US is a leader in biological weapons, right? So we said, yes, welcome, yes. And now we see the total strategy from the United States that under the Golden Dome strategy, they want to put the weapons into space. So it is already a red flag. So what do you think is the total? So what are the targets of the United States in this? What do you think? What is your point of view?
Well, I think I'll draw this analogy. Russia is like a young man that's seeking a wife, and that has identified a woman that he wants to have a lifetime relationship with. And the woman tells the man, oh, yes, I love you, and I want to be your partner. But then you find out that she's a whore. She's a prostitute, and that she is still working. So at that point, you have to realize marriage is no longer a possibility. That's exactly where Russia and the United States are, with the United States being the whore. There is no genuine desire to have a mutually respectful relationship, in my view. And I take this beyond, this goes beyond Donald Trump. Donald Trump can say whatever he wants, but when you look at the attitudes and what's being said by political leaders, both Republicans and Democrats, by business people whose minds have been poisoned by propaganda over the course of the last 20 years, there is no foundation for a genuine, productive, positive relationship. And again, we just have to look at the events of the last 2 weeks, starting, from December 28th until today, with the threats the United States is making against other countries apart from Venezuela, the attacks, as we talked earlier about the drone attack on the official residence of Putin. I think it was literally about a week ago that the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times reported that the CIA denied, oh, we were not attacking. This was not an attack on Putin's residence. This was an attack on some military target near the residence. When I heard that, I knew that we had actually deliberately targeted Putin's residence. And then we had the attack on Maduro, the abduction, and now the piracy against two Russian flagged ships. And then add to that the threats against Greenland and Colombia. These are the actions of a madman, and frankly, I understand why President Putin and others want to believe that there's some chance that there can be rational discussion and negotiation, but I think Trump is actually suffering some form of dementia.
We have a little bit of a different point of view. I wanted to discuss that one with you right now. We remember the last year the statement of a number of American officials. We remember the recent statements by a number of U.S. officials. As I said earlier, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, she coordinates, as I understand, he is 17 intelligence agencies. That these are the people that they say that within these organizations that are disloyal to the current administration.
Мы помним выступление действующего главы администрации президента США, которая сказала, что глубинное государство это.
And we also remember the speech by the current head of the U.S. presidential administration, who said that the deep state is not only the U.S. military-industrial complex, but also a so-called U.S. State Department. Now, we always knew that Trump was opposed by the deep state. He was so very much against the deep state, and that maybe he's involved in some kind of internal struggle, because we all know that Democrats work closely with the U.S. military-industrial corporations, and these years they have midterm elections that may have been a victory for the deep state over Trump, and that he has now changed his position because of that election. And this is why he's unleashing the war in the whole world.
No, I think it's we got. I take it we received a signal or an indicator yesterday when Jeb Bush, Trump's former opponent in the 2016 campaign, came out and was praising Trump's actions. Trump has sold out to number one, the Zionist influence that dominates, really controls the agenda of U.S. foreign policy now, as well as the neocon vision. Instead of staying at home and frankly doing what Vladimir Putin did for Russia starting in 1999-2000, where President Putin focused on rebuilding Russia instead of engaging in foreign wars. Trump has rejected that. He's now pursuing the alternative of more foreign wars, more defense spending, and without any genuine effort to seek peace.
So, Larry, here's a question. What do you think Trump is going to do the next 3 months? Would that be actions against Venezuela, new attack, or something, military operations in Greenland, Middle East? What is your prediction? What would you say?
Two things in particular. I do think that there will be a move against Greenland. within, as soon as the next 3 months. I think that's highly likely now, as well as a new war, new attacks on Iran. The United States is intent on supporting Israel's efforts. And we see that right now with these protests and the propaganda being generated around the protests are all designed to prepare the people in the United States for a new war with Iran. I think I was just to say, I think the United States will not put troops on the ground in Venezuela simply because it will be the United States doesn't have the military force to do so.
So Larry, we know that you have short of a time.
Sure.
You're more than welcome. You are the best guest in our podcast. We would love to see you back again, but we want to thank you, appreciate what you do for us. The discussions, we definitely want to hear a lot more from you. But thank you very much for this time.
Well, Andre, thank you. And I wish you and all people viewing this a very happy new year. Let's hope we have a happy new year and that there can be peace. We're better off living together, working together as friends than as enemies. Thank you so much.
До свидания.
Yes.
До свидания.
Goodbye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.